there's that black car coming out of, yeah, maybe in there. Sainsbury's.
Sorry, man. You can't give me a heart attack.
They'd only give you a heart attack if you're looking.
Oh, there's a Mustang over there.
Yeah.
Bye-bye to Charlotte.
Bumblebee. Both of them were left-hand drive.
How nervous, Robert? Do you think you're making the guys that way hysterical? What do you reckon?
The Chris Evans Breakfast Show. Weekday mornings from 6:30 on BBC Radio 2.
hasn't moved from that lane except for just now to overtake. He was going right up my backside because I wouldn't move out from his way. And now he's slowing down.
Point blank, when Anthony Zippy ain't for nothing.
How's Bungle talk?
Oh, he's just wet.
Was he?
Bungle's wet, yeah. You know who's the voice of Zippy?
No.
Roy Scott.
Right.
Do you know what voice Roy Scott also did?
Yes, I do, and I can't
Do you
remember
all know
what it
this?
is.
Very famous.
Another cartoon,
no,
was it?
I nearly said Darth Vader then. No, that's right.
Good job you didn't say that though.
Luke, why don't you come to the dark side? That would have been great if Darth Vader was Zippy. I'd be like, I'm going to get you all, I'm going to... And all you do is just go to it and just zip them up.
It sounds a bit like your Dalek's impression as well.
Well, that's because
Oh,
Zippy,
yes, that's right.
the man who did the voice for Zippy, did the voice for the Daleks.
Oh,
That's right, yes.
you know that bit?
Now, do an impression of Zippy. Just say, hello, I'm
Are
Zippy.
you joking? Is this
No,
not
Pippa, Pippa, look at me.
Yeah.
Just, even though you can't do
That they'd be able to conduct that just as easily on a sphere. And we're like, what does this mean about our...
Top down, you're really looking at the UN flag. So if it's like a dinner plate, if the UN flag...
Alright, so this is what we have to do now, but we'll get back.
I don't think there's ever enough plant stuff. I mean, you might, right, but he generally has
Days, like on top of it.
I think it's changed because you're promoting something that's like...
More serious. I went on a thing called Steve Harvey. That's on in the daytime, and it's this man who's an African American man, and he's like a friendly uncle. If you ask me, there are too long gaps between the question and the audience. There's like women saying things like, "Oh, I'm dating this guy. He's a bit of a bad egg." Actually, and he's of the same hue as G, but basically, no hair, black man. So you'd ask the question, I'd answer it, and I thought, and then he looked like he tumbled into a little well for a while. And I thought, oh, Steve Harvey's down the old well.
I don't think that's his interview technique. I think that's your answering technique.
Ah,
I think he's just like...
you feel all sort of unusual and the world doesn't make sense, and you think, I just want to go to my nan's house and have some omelette and chips and really, really settle back down and have a couple. I felt like that when I come out, but then Joe Rogan took me to his other studio with his mate. Joe Rogan, I mean, he's intensely male. Like, you know what I mean? He's like a stand-up comic. He's really good at fighting in all sorts of different ways. He's a very male figure. I mean, he's extremely clever. He's the podcast. I know that people have been gushing all over it.
Right? They're all 5 stars. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well done.
Shield, remember? What the spell of its sacred geometry.
The fuck are you doing?
A spell is a word of power, an arrangement of letters a season of time. As we listen to our ancient novels and fables, practical whispers for our sons.
It's got us into the biggest financial crisis we've had since the Great Depression. David Cameron's competence and assurance got us into Brexit.
Oh my God, these people are all idiots.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that competence is a greatly overrated quality.
Yeah, like just fucking me all the way down the pathway.
It's a lovely image.
I was thinking about it today because I was thinking about, my dad would always say, like, oh, the older you get, the weeks turn into months. The years turn into months.
You can ask him to move up instead of just rubbing against my car. You can ask him to move up instead of just rubbing against my car.
of such deep rage that I began to see the relationship between sexual toxicity and my early life conditions, that sex was about personal empowerment and that there was an element of malevolence in my sexuality that I sort of never really experienced outside of that moment. And at the end of the exercise, the other sex addicts around the room in a semicircle sort of looking at me. I sort of feel like some lizard man, as if my tongue is 4 foot long and black and like my eyes are flashing, and a gay guy in there later told me that I did look gorgeous, so I got some affirmation out of it. And like they said, make a noise.
They had nothing to do with ISIS or political ideology.
To tell the
They
truth,
murdered and they
I wouldn't
hated
even
and they
use the
damaged
word,
because that's what they had inside.
I don't know, listen, this is I guess where you and I diversify, because I wouldn't use the word we, because I'd say there is no we. What is we? Who's we? Who's they? Those are like, you know, that's the sort of like the way.
And they had nothing to do with ISIS. They damaged because that's what they had inside.
I don't know, listen, this is I guess where you and I diversify, because I wouldn't use the word we, because I'd say there is no we. What is we? Who's we? Who's they? Those are like, you know, that's the sort of like the way that
They would have be right in themselves, but they wouldn't stop the odd lunatic.
Not the odd lunatic.
So you can argue for those policies in their own justification, but not as a way of changing people. Just like, after all, think about who was the biggest sort of terrorist in modern times in America. It was Timothy McVeigh. You know, he was a white American who just had a grudge about something. Nothing to do with Islam, nothing to do with ISIS, but you're always going to have someone like that, and who blew up people known for Homer.
Yeah, we always will. And like as I sort of say, the things that the non-negotiables we can forget. They're just happening. I mean, you know, people like spiritual people, as a matter of fact, Jonathan, do contest that if, generally speaking, there was an atmosphere of compassion, meditation, reflection, and deep communion with a higher sublime force, that may actually have a practical impact in the same way that when there's acts of violence, it begats more violence. But, you know, like taking the
security, peace, freedom, justice, whatever else.
Possibly this should have been at the beginning of the podcast. Is it like that? I feel in the weight of a social taboo around even discussing these events, and I feel that that's a sort of a prohibitive force, because it's impossible to identify with the suffering and loss of those that are directly affected, and I think all too easy to observe parameters that prevent conversation or contemplation. And I don't know, I hope it doesn't seem disrespectful to talk about it, to talk about other aspects of this event, to talk about the framing of
You think a state will look at that and go, that's brilliant, isn't it? Shall we carry on with that? But what happened is they scrapped that scheme because they didn't want people going to prison to gain a free university education. So I think that's a really great example of how our system likes to be perceived as rational and practical, but actually it's based on really big prejudices, and it actually has quite dubious agendas at its heart.
Yes, it's curiously
we have to look at things in those contexts, in that context, and continue to fight for Labour to be this progressive vehicle. It's hugely important.
And I'll be campaigning for the last 2 years because of
deeply inspired by. And it's not always easy, but I actually think it makes your life a hell of a lot more meaningful. And that's, I think, probably the thing that all of us are most concerned about attaining, is meaning in our lives. And, you know, our society tells us what is valuable is power, status, wealth. And you've talked loads about this, Russell, but you've had all those things. You've lived the dream, and according to what you say, it doesn't make you happy. It's not enough to make you happy. There might be some perks along the way.
Suddenly the essence becomes plain to you. That, oh no, that's a teacher's arm. Oh no, it's also my arm. They are all one and the same thing. I like this idea that on some level we are conscious that we're spirit trapped in matter, and materialism is merely the metaphorical expression of this. One of the things that I get continually, frustrated by, irritated by, and almost on the precipice of a hysterical toddler tantrum about, is that in inverted commas, the left lacks a kind of mythic imagination. That in opposing austerity, there's a kind of an austerity of vision, that it seems sometimes a little bit flat and a little bit drony. Interesting, because taste is sort of the art of the everyday, the stuff that you're wearing, the way that you decorate your house. Well, this is an interesting marker. This is real. You can use it as a barometer. It is legitimate. It is genuine.
Yeah. I mean, that's interesting. I must watch that. I think as well there's a kind of further stage to it, which is if you're middle class, the only people who can really impress other people with purchasing power are really poor people and they're rich people. You know, so if you're really poor, you get a nice car, and if you're really rich, you get a nice yacht, and your social group are impressed. But if you're middle class, people are pretty much, you know.
This is not going to be good. Could be worse.
Right, Davey Dyke. There's so much of what he says. I mean, he preempted a whole lot of stuff, didn't he? Like, loads of things he said were going to happen. Let's not mince words. Paedophile rings. You know, like David Oak said, there's all within the entertainment industry. There's this sort of paedophile ring. It runs deep. People in children's homes. Right now, you know, admittedly, that was bookended with a lot of lovely stuff about lizards. But like a lot. Going, oh no, this is mental. I'm not Hitler.
Maybe Hitler meant to be metaphorical. He's like, no, can you see?
Yeah, this metaphor you've done, the Dashcam, start. They're a bridge too far.
Dashcam.
Yeah, like we're all dying, like necropolitics. Who's it okay to kill? We've built one. Oh no. Perhaps he had a Frankie Boyle moment of looking at his own Sieg Heiling hand and like you writing on a chalkboard going, oh no, I am Hitler. Jeez.